Alright, everybody. It is time that I finally covered one of these right-wing media grift content creators that has been highly recommended and highly requested for quite some time now, and that is Endymion TV. I assume I pronounced it right? I don't care if I pronounced it wrong, to be honest, so don't correct me if I did. This guy, I originally discovered him when Asmongold, who has recently taken a pretty heavy turn to the right with his content that's not gaming related, which is pretty much most of it now isn't gaming related. Like, it's either like videos of him hating on anything in any given game or like him reacting to some like anti-woke video. And he gave a recent massive shout out to this channel, Endymion. And he's blown up a lot recently due to several reaction videos Asmongold did to his content about how, like, wokeness is ruining games and stuff. And he recently put out a video that caught some people's eyes enough that they have sent it to me and asked that I cover it. And this is the thumbnail. It's Venom, and there's a progress flag in the background, and then it says gay. I genuinely thought at first when I saw this thumbnail it was going to be about the 19 inches of Venom tweet. If you know, you know. God, it's so funny. Anyway, the video title is as follows. Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Woke Culture War Goes Nuclear, plus Latinx Backlash and Insomniac Exposed. This video has 230,000 views. And the top comment is, I miss when being a nerd meant people left us alone. Now our stories and hobbies are polluted with brain-dead, tone-deaf, mentally ill politics. That's the top comment, so yeah, I think that kind of helps to get you into the mindset of the average viewer of this type of video, because it is a very special type of person who's so, like, miserable and pathetic that their entire personality is based on video games, and politics that they disagree with being anywhere near video games that they base their personality on is like an actual personal, like, offense to them that upsets them. It's so hard to be a gamer now. It's so hard to be a nerd these days. Jesus Christ, have some self-awareness. Anyway, let's get into this video. I have no doubt it is going to... God, I swear, they switched around these two buttons. They really must have. Anyway, prepare to cringe.
What's up, everyone? It's Endymion, and if you own a PlayStation 5,
Endymion.
You're probably playing Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which I have completed myself and snagged my 147th Platinum trophy thanks to it. Overall, I thought the game was good, but its story, in my opinion, lacked the emotional beats of the original. I felt many villains in Spider-Man 2 were not explored enough, or they were wasted for story purposes. And I also think Spider-Man...
For the record, by the way, I never take any of these people's critiques about things outside of the things they accuse of just being like woke drivel or whatever seriously, because oftentimes these people need an excuse to hate the game outside of the political stuff. Maybe this critique is valid, but if you're interested in getting the game, check out a non-conservative review or like play it yourself, watch some gameplay, and make your own decision. Please, for the love of God, don't watch YouTubers and let them make your decision about media, like your opinion on media, before you ever consume it. Like, it's so common now that people just go to YouTubers, get their opinion on pieces of media without ever consuming it, and they let the YouTuber decide what their opinion is on it.
Spider-Man 2 doesn't fix the prevailing problem that many AAA open-world games have, which is side content that oftentimes feels tedious or dubious at best. Like how in one mission, Miles can help a blind old lady and eventually gift her a robotic dog as a pet. Sure, it sounds cute, but dude, if that dog bugs out even once, that lady will be turned into human sushi, but whatever, it's content, I guess. And the lady is blind, so there's some inclusiveness for you too. And speaking about...
Blind people are woke? Okay. This is the most bizarre nitpick I've ever seen. Like, if you do a side quest, you can get this lady a robot dog, and then, like, I guess you can visit them again, and, like, kids have written on the robot, and it's like got like art on it, and it's like, yeah, no, this is fine. What? In his world, blind people don't exist.
About inclusiveness, that's kind of what this video
Also, holy shit, this game's graphics are pretty good. I'll have to pick this up when it comes out on PC.
is all about. How Insomniac has filled Spider-Man 2 to the brim with pandering, to the point that it feels like it overshadows other key features. Don't worry, no spoilers for the story or anything, but all I'll say is that the game makes it very clear that Insomniac has plans to eventually phase Peter Parker out of the role of Spider-Man and instead make Miles the main character. And I, for one, am not cool with that because Peter is Spider-Man, always and forever in my mind. Miles, like I've explained.
Oh, he's one of those chuds that's freaking out about, like, who doesn't think Miles is Spider-Man. He's one of those guys. Yellow Flash 02, I think his name is, recently got massively ratioed on Twitter after dying on the hill of Miles Morales is not Spider-Man. Dude, do not fuck with Spider-Man fans and do not fuck with Miles Morales fans. They will come after you. You are not winning the culture war on this issue, my friend.
Before is Miles, and he needs his own identity instead of co-opting another, but I'll talk about Miles more later on. But for now, this
what
brings
identity
us to
is
this
he
article from the
co-opting?
Gamer titled,
okay, I've only seen Spider-Verse. I don't know if Miles in this game is different than in Spider-Verse, but the Miles that I know from Spider-Verse is not co-opting anybody's personality that I recognize. The only... Does he mean the moniker of Spider-Man? Does he mean that? He means that. He means that. That's what he means. He means that, like, if Miles Morales is going to be a real hero, he needs to become not Spider-Man, but a new hero. He's got to be his own thing, because Peter Parker's the only Spider-Man. Like, how are these people who claim to be, like, comic book nerds so averse to the idea of multiple different people holding the same hero title and being the same hero? Like, Yellow Flash 02, a guy who named himself after The Flash, has a problem with multiple people, supposedly, has a problem with multiple people having the name Spider-Man. In reality, the problem is that one of those people is black. That's the problem they have. And they don't want to admit that, because that's too on the nose. It's too obvious. They can't just outright say, it is bad that Spider-Man is black. They have to warp and run around beat around the bush until they find some roundabout way of arguing it's bad that makes them somehow sound not extremely racist.
Queerness is everywhere in Spider-Man 2. The author of this article, Jade King, praises Insomniac for filling the game to the brim with identity politics. She uses Black Cat as a core example, stating that Insomniac confirms Black Cat is bisexual in the game, since she openly states she now has a girlfriend. Jade King is very happy about this. But if they read a Spider-Man comic before, they know this is nothing new and Black Cat has been bi for years now. But of course they didn't...
Okay. Wait, they're a game reviewer? They didn't... The job of game reviewer doesn't need to necessitate you've read a certain amount of comic books? I don't know what that has to do with it.
Didn't read a comic. This is a modern games journalist we're talking about.
Also, identity politics isn't when minorities exist in media, dude. Identity politics is when you base literally all of your political messaging and all of your political arguments off of the idea that somebody has more say on an issue because of their identity. That, like, so for example, an identity politics-based argument would be white people can't argue against a black racist because even a black racist is more equipped to talk about black issues than even the most progressive white person, right? That would be an id poll argument that you hear from a lot of woke scolds, and ironically on the left and on Twitter. So that's identity politics, not just minorities existing. It's like they hate identity politics. They say they hate identity politics, and then what they call identity politics is minorities existing in media, but they say they don't hate minorities existing in media. Interesting.
It's only about window dressing for them, where things need to be plainly stated and pointed out to them like toddlers in order for them to recognize things. Jade even uses Black Cat's bisexual...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Are you a conservative who is currently trying to claim that the left lacks media analysis ability? Is that what's happening right now? You, a conservative, are claiming the left lacks the ability to do media analysis. Phenomenal.
identity as a gotcha towards the male gaze when they say, Black Cat's bisexual identity fits brilliantly with her character as a seductive burglar willing to pull vulnerable men into her grasp before taking advantage of them, only to subvert their pursuits in favor of loving
That's cringe as
wow, so progressive, just so amazing.
Okay, yes, that article is cringe as is the world over now? You found an article with a line in it that's cringe as and makes bisexual women sound like monsters. And it honestly makes the person who wrote it sound pretty bigoted. Does that mean that, like, the left is bad? And that, like, progressive messaging or even just minorities existing in this media is bad?
Don't you love it when these journos think they've discovered a new element on the periodic table, while being completely oblivious that the thing they're convinced that they discovered has always been there all along and everyone but them has known about it already? Because that's what this Black...
And my favorite thing about conservatives is how openly they hate journalism. It's why, like, they're so big in favor of Trump, is because Trump was going to expand libel laws to make it easier to sue journalists who cover negative things about you. He was basically going to heavily reduce the amount of, well, he couldn't because the First Amendment wouldn't allow it, but if the First Amendment didn't exist, what he was going to do is allow himself and, you know, anyone who's got the money and resources to sue any journalist who dares to, like, expose dirt about them, ever. The right really hates journalists because journalists are, as Dylan Burns has said, and I really like this quote, journalism is the first draft of history, and conservatives do everything in their power to destroy any teaching and spreading of historical knowledge because it doesn't make them look very good. And, of course, considering that journalism is a form of historical, you know, study in a way, it's just the present, they're just as against it.
Cat nonsense is. But it doesn't stop there, nor does the pandering. At one point in Spider-Man 2's many side quests, you even get to play as Miles' deaf girlfriend, who personally, for me anyway, the chemistry between these two feels incredibly forced and not at all natural. Haley is deaf, and she was introduced in Spider-Man Miles Morales.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. This game is woke as fuck, okay? Like, there is media that is absolutely, intentionally woke as fuck. Like, that is a thing, but it's not forced. Nothing about, like, this feels forced to me. Like, if you want an example of, like, forced woke, I used this example before, but the Endgame scene, the Avengers Endgame, like, girl power scene, where they all help Captain Marvel get the glove to the van, that scene is forced and cringe. None of this is forced or cringe. All of this is, like, realistic and plausible and works in the story, at least what I'm able to see. But what is clear is that that's pandering? You don't know that. You don't know that. Wait, why is it all of a sudden that people are, like, able to determine whether or not this game was made by people who are progressive and wanted to... Oh, that was pandering. Yeah, the girl power scene, yes. Like, but people will say, this representation is pandering. And, like, how do you know that? How do you know if this was an attempt to pander to a progressive audience, or if it was made by progressive devs who just wanted to be woke with their game? And in either case, what is their argument? What is their issue? Because back in the day, these people were arguing in response to journalists who were saying games need to be more woke, telling them to make their own games. And now there are woke games, and these guys are the ones losing their shit about games being woke. Dude, if you don't want the games to be woke, then make your own games. What can I tell you? It's as simple as that.
As a side character who likes to spray paint art on walls. Insomniac clearly loves her so much that they decided to not listen to fans when they told them that we don't want to play anyone but superpowered beings. So now... I don't know... I don't know if the entire community agreed on that. I know that at some point in the first game you play as Mary Jane, so it's not even unusual to play as Spider-Man's girlfriend in one of these games. Like, they've done it before in the last game. It seems like they're keeping up with tradition. Of course, you get an entire mission where you can now play as Haley. This is incredible. This is so inclusive to your viewer, because now you can...
I really hope he calls the game developers racist for having her spray paint walls. and tag buildings or whatever. I really hope he calls that racist. It would be so fucking funny. Like one of those like right-wingers attempting to like say the left are the real racists like moments, and it's like a completely delusional like reach. Like the Chud Sphere did with Blue Beetle, saying it's racist that the Hispanic family in the movie goes out to get tacos.
Walk and take elevators and even slowly drag an analog stick over to paint stuff on walls. Because I don't know about you, but when I play a game called Spider-Man 2, if I'm not playing a normal human being doing normal boring people stuff, in a game where I can fight mutant lizards or shoot Bukake alien goo out of my body, the game is simply not complete for me. Thankfully...
Oh god, you know this guy's a fucking gooner. When like the first thing that comes to mind when he sees Venom is Bukake goo. Okay, anyway, stepping aside from that though, something I've noticed as a consistency among these people is that they want video games to succeed, they want gaming to do well, they champion video games as an art form, and they talk about how it needs to be taken seriously, and they bring up the fact that video games as a entertainment genre, or as an entertainment industry, make more money than movies, TV, and books combined. Like all other forms of entertainment media combined don't make as much money as video games do this day and age. Video games are the biggest entertainment industry. And because of that, people are taking it more seriously as a way of telling stories, as a way of reaching people emotionally, as a way of telling social commentary and having social impact. And that is going to entail politics. Politics are an inescapable reality of our world that you cannot get away from for any prolonged period of time, no matter who you are or where you are. And as video games start to get more advanced, the industry gets bigger, the audience gets bigger and more diverse. As much as they hate that the audience is getting more diverse, they want games to remain a straight white boys club. More and more non-straight white boys are playing video games than ever, and it's just going to keep going that way. They are no longer the sole demographic that's getting catered to by games. And games are actually starting to get taken seriously, which entails the things that they're actually against. So now they're melting down about it. But they still nonstop try to say, we want video games to be taken seriously as an art form. And yet they complain about a small segment in the game where you play as the main character's girlfriend in order to, like, impart story. Like, minor spoilers for FF14, by the way, but in that game, where you play as, it's an MMO, where you play as your customizable character, who in the lore is like the chosen one. In that game, you play as other characters at certain points, as side characters who are like your friends along the way. And they're way weaker. At least in my experience, they're way fucking weaker. Is that like bad that the game does that for the sake of telling story? That allows you to play as other characters in the story to like allow you to like, I don't know, like it feels like such a reach of a complaint.
The Haley mission is just that. It's one single mission. But by God, could I not wait for
one
it to
single
end,
mission,
I don't
literally.
play Spider-Man to be a normal person. I play it so I can yeet myself at 200 miles per hour over city buildings while kicking mentally deranged criminals in their chest cavity, while calling them...
I guarantee you this guy has said at least 100 times in his channel he wants video games to be taken seriously as an art form, and yet he's saying, I play a Spider-Man game to kick people in the face. I want to swing on webs. How dare there be one mission where you don't play as Spider-Man swinging around kicking people in the face. No, only punchy, kick action 24/7, 100% of the game. Like, I want video games to be taken seriously as an art form. This is like somebody in like early, like this is somebody who says they like movies, who gets mad when any movie is anything other than non-stop action scenes.
Them names, because that's what Spider-Man does. But alas, we must pander for gameplay, and customer satisfaction must be sacrificed in the name of the glorious message itself.
What? Why is this game selling so well then? Why are people not complaining about it? You, like, weirdos who make a living off of, like, grifting, complaining about any new popular thing, are the only ones complaining about it. This game is, like, getting, like, world record sales, and is extremely highly rated and beloved. This is cope. You see, one of the things the right tries so hard to do is say that, like, there's this woke narrative that's so overwhelming and powerful, but at the same time, the silent minority that actually pays for the products doesn't like it, but it's also but also these companies are doing it for money, but the paying customers don't like it. It makes no sense. It's completely incoherent. These people's worldview makes no sense. If I skip to, like, towards the end, is he going to say something that makes sense?
Girl and ginger lady. It's called Spider-Man 2, for God's sakes. And the whole Middle Eastern thing just kind of solidifies it further that when push comes to shove where it really matters, these companies, whether it's Sony, Microsoft, or others, will all fold like lawn chairs when it comes to representation. It's just how in Disney Star Wars they try to incorporate stuff like same-sex kisses in blink and you'll miss it sequences. But these are all done on purpose in order to farm ESG score, and conveniently have it play so if those scenes are removed, the product will still work when it's...
To farm ESG score? Is this some, like, internet-brained acronym to refer to, like, woke points or something? Or is it, like, rating scores on websites? I don't know. Yeah, obviously these companies that are making movies that they put billions of dollars into that are going to come out in countries that literally have gay marriage banned and that don't allow the presentation of gay people are going to do it in a way that can be edited. Yes, and you are literally one of the people who supports that kind of policy. Yeah, wait. Do you like support gay marriage? Are you against the fact that these companies are forced to do that for those movies to be allowed to air in those countries? Assuming you're pro free speech, you would be, because the only reason they do that is because otherwise they don't have the freedom to air the movie in countries like Russia, China, North Korea. You could go on. Saudi Arabia. It feels like it's such a nothing complaint. Like, you are literally a defender of the thing that caused the situation you're complaining about, much like most things conservatives complain about. Can we get something resembling a coherent argument?
People will save you all in the end, because white people, after all, are the ones mostly pushing dumb shit like latinx and pandering anyway. You guys don't need saving. Nobody is somehow better than others because of their skin tone. And these companies need to stop pandering like this because it's so...
I like this. The framing of any discussion around, like, any privilege you might be, like, afforded by your identity being framed as no one's better than anyone else because of their identity. He's framing it as if, though, talking about privilege is saying that people are better because of their identity. No, 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 no. Nice try with that classic 2016 Gamergate era talking point. No. Talking about privilege is not claiming that, say, white privilege is not claiming that white people are better than other races because they have privilege or they are better in some way. That is not what it is in any way, shape, or form, no matter what these people try to say. White privilege, for example, or any form of privilege that we refer to, refers to the social benefits imparted on people because of their identity. If you're white, you don't have to deal with getting uncomfortable when you see, like, a Klan rally burning a cross in someone's yard. Obviously, it's an extreme example, but there are other less extreme, more common examples of racism. You aren't affected by those things. Maybe you're affected by other negative things, that's fine, but you do have the privilege of not having to worry about those specific things. And that is what it is referred to, or that is what we are referring to when we say white privilege, straight privilege, gay privilege, cis privilege, whatever it may be. He really tried there. He really tried to do that little slimy maneuver of saying, like, privilege is when the left says privilege, they mean superiority somehow. It's a really, like, backhanded and slimy tactic, but they've been doing it since Gamergate. The whole, like, the left are the real racists.